We have a special guest with us tonight. Of course, he's an author. He is a speaker. He is a best-selling author, and he is a TV host and a brand new podcast host as well. Please welcome Tom Heckman to the show. Tom, how are you?
Thanks, Damon. Doing great.
It's great to have you here. Now, Tom is a retirement income expert, and I've been lucky enough to be working with Tom over the last years on a bunch of different projects. And I wanted him to come on tonight because of everything that's going on with Doge and government and Trump and the administration. And he's in New York filming for your show that I guess airs on CNBC. And it's what's the show about?
Financial freedom. And really what I do is I bring Main Street financial advisors in. You know, CNBC and Fox Business good with Wall Street, but I'm bringing in Main Street, real financial advisors to give advice and assistance to people who want to retire and want to build wealth.
Yeah. And you got a new podcast with the same name that's going to come out this year as well. So you got a lot of great things going on. So I wanted to have you on because there's a lot going on. And it's funny because I got to work with you through Biden administration, and now here we are in the Trump administration. And you used to say something to me during the Biden administration. You said taxes have nowhere to go in this country but up. And it's not a left-right problem. It's a math problem. Now that the Trump administration's in and you see what's going on right now as they're fighting for a reconciliation bill and to extend the Trump tax cuts, do you still have that same feeling?
Well, I do, because, you know, there's an ocean of debt. And even though Doge is going in there and finding stuff, it's almost like they're taking a Home Depot 5-gallon bucket into the ocean and trying to bail it out. And the more I see how big the problem is. Now, I hope this gold card can raise trillions of dollars. I hope they can pay off the debt, but the debt is a major problem. 36 trillion. We're adding $1 trillion about every 85 days. And so, I mean, there's got to be a lot more cutting than what's being cut. So I do think at some point taxes are going to have to go up. I hope Trump can figure it out. I hope they can fix it all. But it's a big, it's an ocean of problems.
So if they pass the Trump tax cuts through reconciliation, of course, people on the left are going to say, "Well, you're blowing a hole in the budget to give your rich friends a tax break, and we're going to pay for it." But if they do pass them and they do extend them, taxes aren't going to go up anytime soon, are they?
Not soon, but I mean, it's just this massive problem that after time, I mean, unless they can bend the curve, if they can bend the curve and we can actually see the debt coming down, then I may say something different. But right now, we're still adding $1 trillion every 85 days, and until that changes, at some point, taxes are going to have to go up, or something's going to have to happen.
Yeah, and it just seems like they're not willing to get to where the real cutting would have to be, which unfortunately, and it's like the third rail of talking about this stuff, but it's entitlements, right?
Yeah, but they could fix it pretty easy. Social Security is an easy fix. Medicare, Medicaid, I don't know. I'm hoping somebody smarter than me can figure that out. But I could fix Social Security for the next 100 years in less than 15 minutes.
By doing what?
Well, they're going to have to. My dad got Social Security at 65. I don't get it till 67. My daughter probably shouldn't get full Social Security till she's 69. Her kids maybe not till they're 71. We're paying tax on 6.2%. Our employers match that. Maybe it needs to go to 7.5. We're paying now to 160 or 170,000. Maybe that has to go to 250. It's not going to be major changes, but of course, the left will be saying they're pushing Granny off the cliff, and they'll have pictures of them pushing Granny off the cliff. No, they're trying to save Social Security for the next 100 years. The Democrats can't fix it. The Republicans can't fix it. They're going to have to come together, and that's a problem. But if they came out together like Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, they fixed it for 50 years. That's what's going to have to happen if they're going to fix it for another 50 or 100 years.
Yeah. So you see Elon, and you said a little bit about Doge and kind of what they're up against. But what do you think so far of Doge, what they're finding? I mean, is probably not a surprise that there's fraud, waste, and abuse in government. Obviously, this overly behemoth, iron-fisted, top-down government that we're living under. But what do you think of Doge? What do you think of the prospects of what they're trying to do?
It's kind of disgusting, the things that they're finding. But
yeah.
But even what he's found so far, look at the wailing and gnashing of teeth. You'd think that they're pulling teeth of everybody, and they're finding waste, fraud, and abuse, but people are screaming. And now, I mean, there are people who are losing their jobs. And I mean, I got a daughter. I just said, to my wife, what if my daughter would have got hired at one of these jobs and then they just eliminate them just willy-nilly? There's a park ranger out in Iowa who's a newly hired guy, and he lost his job. He's got a family. So they're going to start personalizing some of this. But he's hardly cut anything, less than 1%, and they're screaming and wailing. How can we cut 36 trillion? I mean, how can we pay that off? It's going to be difficult.
Yeah. Vin?
Yeah, I have a few questions for you. So on the whole idea of, number one, dealing with the deficit and all that kind of stuff. I mean, what I see happening here is downsizing government, cleaning out waste, increasing revenue, all these things that he's doing, bringing in all sorts of money to increase revenue. I just remember in the dot-com boom when Bill Clinton was the beneficiary of all that money coming into the tax system. It seems to me that we might go through a process like that right now where we cut enough to make a dent, not a big one. And then we have a process of more income where the tax revenue rises, and perhaps that takes the deficit down to something that becomes more manageable and then can come down. Do you see that as a possibility?
I hope that happens. And look, Trump's a businessman. He's bringing business in. Look at all the stuff he's bringing in.
Yeah.
And that could help too. And you sell these gold cards and you sell this other stuff.
The gold card thing's interesting. The other question I had for you was, I remember George Bush talked about this, and I saw an article recently that said if we put our retirement, our Social Security with the S&P 500, we'd be getting 30 some odd thousand a month. And maybe there's a strategy around that, because the 401ks for what they do, they're not really pensions, but they do create a savings for people. Mm-hmm. There are people that can save $1 million if you work for the same company a long time, or even $100,000.
You want to be partnered with the U.S. government, sure.
Yeah.
But they're invested in mutual funds and stocks and all that type of stuff. And I'm just wondering, how much of a difference would that make, where if Social Security was carved out of the government, in essence, and gave you the choice? You want the government to put it in government T-bills, or you want it to best conservative, then your benefits will be represented that, or you want to put it in like you do your 401k. That might solve it in a way, because it'll give everybody more money. Maybe you can retire earlier.
Yeah, I think it would have to be a choice, though, because, again, as soon as the market crashes, they say, see, there they go. They lose all your money, So, but I think if people had a choice, I certainly would choose to put it more market-based than where it is now. I think it would have to be a choice. But if it was a choice, I think that's fine.
But even on that market-based idea, you look at Social Security, and, we're the same age. We were talking about that before we got on. So I look at it. I'm not looking to tap into it, but I look at it and I'm like, who can retire on these kind of numbers, right? You got to have all these other things. It makes no sense, right? In today's economy, it makes no sense. I have this place in Florida that I mentioned to you, and, they're getting assessments all over the place. People are on fixed incomes. I mean, it's a real crisis.
It is.
For that. It doesn't make sense to me that they can create a living wage like that when they're willing to give living wages to illegals and all these others for lots more.
Yeah, that was crazy. But, I think if people had a choice, you could either do the government system that you got now, or you could do a market-based system.
I think
that. A lot of people would take the market-based system. But if you force it, then it's going to be the narrative, there they go. They're trying to lose you your money.
I think you do it like a 401k. You have your options, government, 25% with the government, 25% with this, that kind of thing. It just makes too much sense.
Yeah. No, I would support that.
What's your biggest advice right now in these times with inflation the way it is, and people, maybe my age, 50s, early 50s and lower 40s?
Yeah, you're getting up there.
Thank you. What's the biggest mistake they're making in saving for retirement? Or what's the biggest mistake maybe you see of people in the 30s, 40s as they think about starting to save?
Well, I've spent my entire career working with baby boomers, showing them how to retire the optimal way. There is an optimal formula. It's about, having increasing income for the rest of your life and then managing all the risks in retirement. But for younger people, what they really want to do is they want to increase their saving, and they want to put their money into appreciating assets. See, too many people put their money into cars and boats and RVs and jet skis and clothes and handbags and shoes, and all those things are depreciating assets. Worse, they're charging it on their credit card, or they're taking car loans. And so they're paying interest on things that are going down every day. And you'll never get wealthy if you're paying interest on depreciating assets. And so it's focused on putting your money into appreciating assets. And if they would do that, and the other thing is, young people get impatient. They don't become rich in their 30s and 40s, so then they say, screw it, I'm going to buy the RV, I'm going to buy the boat, I'm going to buy the car. And what I would do with people is I'd use the rule of 72. That's how fast money doubles. You divide whatever rate of return you get into the number 72. It tells you how many years to double your money. So I would use 7.2% because then your money doubles every 10 years, and it's a fair rate of return. So let's say I'm working with somebody in their 30s. They have $150,000, and they say, I'm not going anywhere, I'm not getting rich. And I say, no, wait. 150,000 in your 30s will be 300,000 in your 40s. Will be 600,000 in your 50s. 1.2 million in your 60s. 2.4 million in your 70s. 4.8 million in your 80s. 9.6 million in your 90s. That's just that money, and you're going to be saving other money. And so, if people would just give time, the young people have time on their side, and if they would just have a little more patience. But it's what you do in your 20s and 30s and 40s that will result in you becoming wealthy in your 60s, 70s, and 80s. And people just say, well, I don't want to wait till I'm 60 to be wealthy. Well, sorry, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, that's a hard dynamic,
Yeah, I mean, but
when I was a young guy,
you're not get wealthy in your 30s and 40s.
Right.
It's just not, Elon Musk. But I mean, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
401ks you still recommend for kids starting to save, or
up to the match?
Look at the Roth.
Up of Roth 401k if you get a choice. But if you have a regular 401k and they match you put in 4%, they match 4%, that's 100%, I do it. But above the match, I wouldn't do it. I do Roth IRA, I do Roth 401k, I do cash value life insurance. I put it in places where you can get tax-free income in retirement. I think if you can schedule as much tax-free income in retirement, you're going to be happy.
Yeah. We're speaking with Tom Hegna. Of course, he's a best-selling author, speaker, retirement expert. And his show, Financial Freedom with Tom Hegna, is going to air on CNBC's 9 a.m. on Saturday mornings. It airs this Saturday as well, and it'll air all throughout 2025, so you can catch that. And, of course, his latest book was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Are you going to do another book?
Probably not. I mean, not for a while. But that one's really good for young people. It shows them how simple it is to become a millionaire in America today.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You can find it, Tom Hegna. Tom, thanks so much. Glad you're in New York. It's good to see you, and thanks for coming on the show.